It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Yes! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press Christmas Eve edition. Eric Frandsen, J.D. Walker, our good friend Jason Walker woke up this morning not feeling great and didn't want to share things with us. It is the season of giving, but he didn't want to give us sickness, so he's not here.
His health entered the transfer portal.
I do not accept your gift. Yes. But we're hanging out here on a Christmas Eve, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully things are going well for you this holiday season. If you're traveling, travel safe. If you have people traveling to where you are, we hope they travel safe as well. Not doing this live, so if you're texting in to react to one of our hot takes, we'll just have to look at it in a few days because we're not actually here live. This is segments of this show pre-recorded so we can spend time with our families on Christmas Eve, but still wanted to put a show together for you. So plenty of things to discuss. Last hour we talked a lot about college football playoffs, the bowl season, latest with transfer portals and junior college athletes. If you spent time at a junior college, you now have an extra year of eligibility. Now the NCAA, one thing we didn't say is the NCAA is still not happy about this, and they're pursuing some legal action on it. But in the meantime, they have granted that fifth year of eligibility if at any time an athlete spent time at a junior college. So get that fifth year. But you get that fifth year of eligibility there, and then you got a medical red shirt. You got a red shirt year. COVID years are pretty much out now. Those don't happen anymore. But players could have a lot of time at college level, moving from one school to the next if they really wanted. To chasing NIL or just playing opportunities. So interesting to see how that might affect and change the college football landscape, or not just college football, it's athletics, because it could affect basketball as well. Utah State has two really good basketball players on their roster right now that could get an extra year of eligibility if it's granted to them. So a lot of different things going on with college athletics. But talking about basketball, let's look at Utah State men's basketball. We talked about this yesterday about the non-conference schedule is now done, and they shift to everybody's all in on conference schedules starting this weekend. But in this period of in-between, JD, let's look at let's evaluate the Mountain West overall, not just with how they performed in the non-conference, but just how are they looking so far, separating the contenders from the pretenders. And at this point of the season, who would be the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year? Who would you give the Coach of the Year award to? And just kind of, we don't need to go 1 through 11, but looking at some of the top teams in the conference, looking at ranking teams so far this point of the season. And let's start off with that, just looking at teams overall in the conference schedule so far through the Mountain West. We know San Diego State is ranked. Utah State has the best overall record, but Boise State not far behind. New Mexico is in the mix. Nevada has had some moments. But who would you look at right now as the top three teams in the conference so far?
I think for me, it's going to be the Aggies, the San Diego State, and Boise State. I feel like those top three teams have done some stuff, San Diego State being ranked. I've watched more San Diego State basketball as we've gotten through and really impressed with some of their young talent they have there. Boise State, started a little rough on some stuff, but then took out St. Mary's. And they're, kind of just doing what we think. I think those are the top three teams for me in the Mountain West so far at kind of this, early December, mid-December point. And I got New Mexico kind of as the bubble, like just out there. They're not with the pretenders. They're not with the players. They're just kind of, waiting in the lounge for their opportunity.
Yeah, that's interesting with New Mexico. That's a team that's 9-3 on the year, but they're 85 in the net. Nevada is 8-4, but they are where did they go? They were a lot higher in the net. They're at 57. So it's a pretty big gap between those two. New Mexico, I was expecting more of New Mexico at this point of the season. I know they lost some players to the portal. They lost some players to graduation. But based on the players that I knew they had coming back, I thought New Mexico would be a little bit better. And so I don't know that my ranking's too much different from you. I know Utah State's 11-1. San Diego State is ranked at 8-2. But I'm going to put the Aztecs ahead of the Aggies only because I think they've played a little bit tougher schedule. It's pretty close when you look at a couple different metrics, but I'm just going to give the Aztecs a slight nod. And that's mostly just to be contrarian.
So, Eric, am I too far out there to say you're agreeing with Kurt Herbstreit from last hour about the whole wins don't matter? Just played. I get you. San Diego State's got a great resume so far. Like, I think they've played. Didn't they take out UCLA in the beginning of the season? Was that San Diego State?
No, that was. Who was that? That was Nevada. Nevada or New Mexico did that. But one of them did beat UCLA. Wasn't Nevada? Must have been New Mexico that did that. But State, looking at San Diego State's resume, it was New Mexico. They did beat UCLA 72-64.
Okay,
so that is definitely a high mark for the Lobos. But looking at the Aztecs, they beat Houston, which is number 6 in the net. Very high-ranked team. Beat them in overtime. Now, they do have 2 quad 1 losses. They lost to Gonzaga. They lost to Oregon, both of those by double digits. But they beat Creighton, which is another very notable program. So it's just, I give that slight edge to San Diego State over USU just because I think that they've lost a few more games than the Aggies have, but I also think they've been a little bit more tested.
I'd say
the Aggies.
The Gonzaga Oregon losses probably a little bit tougher than UC San Diego on that. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. But then also I'm going to jump back in here but California Baptist, San Diego State, you got to beat California Baptist by more than 6. I know the Baptists bring the potlucks and stuff, and so that's probably why you guys kept them close. But that's one of those that California Baptist win. I'm going to check myself real quick. Reminds me of the Wyoming win for the Aggies. So it may not be the prettiest win, but a win's still a win.
Yeah, it is. But that's really tough. I think it's so close choosing between Utah State and San Diego State. But Aggie fans aren't going to like me for it. But I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Aztecs just because they've been tested a little bit more than the Aggies have. But wins do matter, as we discussed last hour. And wins do matter.
And I am throwing this out. I'm not saying this is the case, but Eric might be Jedi mind tricking you with the disrespect. Just a heads up on that, because it is amazing. They get ranked 6th or 9th in the polls, and then they come out with the greatest start in program history. So be careful of those Jedi mind tricks with the disrespect.
But I'm with you. I would pick Boise State as number 3. Again, I think they've got some better quality games that they've played. I'd actually put Nevada ahead of New Mexico. But that's what's frustrating about the league so far this year. I think there were some better expectations from Nevada and New Mexico that haven't really been met. I think Colorado State has been a bit of a disappointment so far in the non-conference. And really, it's Utah State and San Diego State mostly carrying the water for the league.
Yeah, I thought there was some talking about multiple bids and things like that for the tournament, but standing out, I got New Mexico in the green room, waiting to decide if they're pretenders or contenders. But in the outside looking in and the light outside to get past the bouncer, Colorado State, UNLV, and Nevada. I think those guys have to prove that they're able to get up there. Now, looking at Nevada's schedule, they did do us a solid and took out the Huskies there early in the season. But they've had a couple of rough ones. Colorado State taking them out last Saturday by 2.
Yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah, so there's some stuff there that those guys need to kind of step it up a little bit. And I still follow and have friends in the Vegas media, and Coach Kruger is on his way to be run out of town, which is kind of crazy because his dad, Lon Kruger, was there and had a lot of success. Got the Rebels to the tournament and brought a lot of fire, but they're just kind of sputtering there. And I think Las Vegas and I think the rest of the Mountain West had big expectations for UNLV and Nevada to be right up there with Utah State, San Diego State, and Boise State.
Yeah, so kind of a disappointing start for the non-conference run as we shift gears to Mountain West play. I think the contenders really are Utah State and San Diego State. Boise State might have a little bit of an outside shot of being a contender with Tyson Degenhart back. And they got a couple other players back on their roster from a solid season last year. But I think that's about where it starts and stops. Nevada looks like they could have been or should have been, but they've underperformed. And the same goes with New Mexico. So I'm going to call them pretenders at this point. They might act like they could be, but I don't really think they are. Now, could change when we get into conference play a little bit, but based on the resume and how things have played out to date, I really think there's 2 legit contenders. Boise State is on the edge, but I'll still call them a fringe contender. But New Mexico, Nevada, followed by Colorado State, those are pretenders. In fact, I don't know if I can call Colorado State a pretender at this point, though part of their struggles in their non-conference was because their star player, their main player, was hurt, and they didn't have him available, so that could be part of it. But looking at this point of the season, who would you give the Coach of the Year award to at the halfway point? We're going to call this a halfway point, even though technically it isn't, but at the midway point, the non-conference is done, before we get into conference play, who should be the Coach of the Year to this point?
I mean, call me a homer if you want, but the best start in program history, 11-1. Several coaching changes after the last couple of years. People one and done, couple of years, moving on to other. I think Coach Calhoun is the Christmas present that Aggie fans got to unwrap earlier this year, and we have been enjoying all college basketball season. I think he gets the Coach of the Year in the Mountain West, hands down. I mean, I see what other coaches are doing, but to come in and to be picked 6th and then to be one of the leaders of the pack and have the best start in program history, I think at this point it's got to be Coach Calhoun.
I'm with you. I don't know how you give it to anybody else, really. When you look at Brian Dutcher is doing a nice job with San Diego State. They're 8-2. They've got a nice win on their resume against Houston for sure. But look what Coach Calhoun is doing, coming in, having to deal with a changing coaching staff, changing roster, and not a lot of expectations. And he's gone out there and won on the road. He's won in neutral sites. He's got this team playing very well up there in several different national rankings when you look at statistical very different categories of how well they're doing. I don't know how you don't give it to Coach Calhoun at this point. And he's the front runner. The team could certainly collapse in conference play. We wouldn't want that. But he's got to be the front runner to win this thing based on how the team has come out of the gates so far.
And if the team continues on this trajectory, Coach could be in line for some national honors too, because people are going to have to start realizing and seeing the method to the madness here, the recipe that's going into Utah State basketball, because, Coach Sprinkle left and he's got a great opportunity with the University of Washington, took a great Osabor with him, and, the NIL world that we live in these days. And what did Coach Calhoun come in? He did, and before they even took the court, he got the best recruiting class in Aggie history. And then he decided to match that with the best start in Aggie history. Like, the next step, the best season in Aggie history. And if he does that, statues, Main Street is now Calhoun Boulevard. Like, I'm all in for Coach.
Yeah, there you go. It's amazing what you can do when good coaching meets great players. So that's what we're seeing so far with Utah State. And a lot of people have been talking about Utah State and what they're doing here recently in this run of success they've had the last few years. 3 different head coaches over these last 3 seasons that, a couple of those other guys got to the tournament. This team is on its way, building a resume that should give it enough to make it to the NCAA tournament. Aggies look like they're a tournament-bound team. So 3 different coaches in 3 different years going to the NCAA tournament in 3 different years. But looking at that under another lens as to athletic directors, it was his name is escaping me. Who was the AD before Bovee? Hartwell. God, sorry, brain fart there.
It's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, mine's other ways. But John Hartwell hired Ian Odom. Jerry Bovee was the interim AD who hired Danny Sprinkle. And Diana Sabo was the AD who hired Jared Calhoun. And those are in 3 successive years. And 3 successive coaches that have teams going to the NCAA tournament. That is so monumentally rare. And I'm not seeing it as much now, but about a month ago, I was so tired of Aggie fans who, when national media or regional media was recognizing the success of Utah State and like, hey, this is pretty amazing what they're doing. And Aggie fans were like pushing back on them like, well, yeah, dummy, of course. That's a little short-sighted, Aggie fans. There's a good reason these national pundits and even regional media people are flabbergasted by this. This just does not happen. So, yes, it does speak to the strong basketball culture in Logan. And I think that's what Aggie fans are like rallying around. And I understand that. And that's totally fine. But can we just celebrate the fact that this is something that is very unique and this is really awesome? And let's just celebrate that and welcome them in. Like, yes, this is cool. Thanks for noticing and being a part of it instead of pushing back and being argumentative. I'm not seeing as much of that. I think Aggie fans have gotten a little bit better about that. But this is truly unique what's happening for Utah State.
I don't know if I'll ever get access to the AD's office, but I wonder if there's like a golden book in the desk that just you open the drawer and it shines gold and it says how to hire the next basketball coach. And like you just pull it out and it's just the secret weapon that we have up there because you're right. The coaches have come in, they've done amazing things. And I liked the interview Jason and I had with the AD Sabo a couple weeks ago where she talked about let's change the mindset that Coach Calhoun's going to be gone after a year and like these guys are going to go. No, we're going to keep him here. And I've already committed to chaining myself to Coach Calhoun's vehicle to keep him in Cache Valley. Like I love the energy he brings. I love the fact that even when they execute and they got to win against St. Mary's, Coach will pick out a couple things. It's like, we're going to work on A, B, and C because he always wants to get better and wants to see this team get better. And hands down, like coach of the year right now. And I think we could pen it in a little bit because I see the trajectory of this team's on, and I'm really excited for Coach Calhoun and what he's got these guys doing.
Absolutely. So is it going to be a clean sweep for you, for all Aggies, the number 1 team, the coach of the year, and player of the year?
I don't want to be a super homer, so I was trying to break down some things. I got 3 guys. Of course, we can talk about the mayor, Mason Falslev, 5th in scoring in the Mountain West, 8th in rebounding for a guard. That's nuts for me to think. But field goal percentage, he's leading. Also doing well in the assist category. But steals, another thing, 4th in the conference in steals. So I think, you have to put Mason up there. The kid from Colorado State,
Nick Clifford,
scoring, rebounding, field goal percentage, and even assists. Kid's great. And then Donovan Dent from the Lobos. I mean, averaging 18, he's a pretty good start there, but the Lobos underperforming, so I probably put him at 3rd, and Mason and Clifford kind of battling out for that top spot. But Looking at it, oh man, I'm going to take some heat. I would say right now Clifford gets it just from his all around. If I'm looking at just the stats, if you're taking impact, player of the week
gathering
awards,
to give
and
thanks,
what it means
renew
to the team
friendships,
and
and celebrate traditions will always be what the holidays are about. This is Lance Zollinger, president at Cache Valley Bank. As we celebrate together, thank you for making us your preferred hometown bank and trusted tradition for achieving your financial needs and ambitions. We wish you a year filled with wonderful memories, good times, safety, and lots of happiness. We think you deserve it. Happy holidays from Cache Valley Bank.
I think you're right. I think that what Mason does, and I'm going to call him the Mountain West. I'm going to give him that recognition as the Mountain West Player of the Year at this point. He's only a sophomore.
Yeah,
it's bonkers. But points, rebounds, assists, how he affects the game, how he helps his team. There are other players, as you mentioned, who maybe are better in certain categories. Dent in assists, right? Neat Clifford and defensive rebounds. He's number one in the country in defensive rebounds in the game.
But those are stat sheet stuffers too.
Right, yeah. Neat Clifford does a lot of great things. I wonder where he would be on these lists if he hadn't missed some games. He may be the runaway guy. But Mason has won the Mountain West Player of the Week 3 times.
Yeah.
And it's not a very old season. How many more of those is he going to win? But when I look at complete game and how he impacts the game, Mason Falsov stands out to me as the best Aggie player and the best Mountain West player. I think he's got some competition. He's a good player at Boise and Tyson Degenhart. I think Nick Boyd, strong player out of San Diego State. Donovan Dent does a lot of good things for the Lobos. Neat Clifford doing things for the Rams. But all in all, just when you look at a complete player instead of a specialist in certain areas, I got to give it to Mason and how he's done so far for this Aggie team.
And when we were talking to him last Friday, the thing that stood out to me, and I'll get your thoughts on this, is they were talking after the UC San Diego loss, and I'm not sure if it was on the air or off the air when we were talking to Mason, because we asked him about the preparation and stuff, and he said this week in practice, just getting more physical, getting after it, getting rough. And I'm like, this is a kid who won 3, Player of the Week awards, and he's talking about, we're getting physical and we're getting at it. And the image that sticks out from that UC San Diego game is Mason right after the buzzer. He was basically at the foul line, and he dropped to his kind of squat, and he just put his hands on his head and shaking his head, and you could see the determination. We talked to him. We watched him come out, and he's got that bulldog in him that just wants to keep better. And so I agree. I didn't want to homer it up. I wanted to give a couple more options, but, yeah, I mean, Mason's elevating this team to an 11-1 start. Coach Calhoun's using him in an excellent way, and Mason's looking to get involved. Him and Ian were shut out in the first half of that St. Mary's game, but he showed up in the second half and just had a normal Mason Falsov game in one half. So, I mean, you're right. I agree with you. He is truly special, and he's a sophomore.
Yeah. Only a sophomore. It's crazy. But it's fun to have this little bit of a break, a little bit of a gap where we can take a step back for a minute, look back at the season so far, the non-conference schedule as it's done, and kind of evaluate everybody and how they're doing, and then start to look ahead now for the rest of the conference play, because that begins on Saturday for the Aggies. San Diego State, of a place where they haven't been able to win since the turn of the century. It's weird. And we talked about this the other night. As good as the Aggies have been, their various different seasons of being at the top or winning the conference, the great rosters that they've had before, they just have not been able to win in Viejas Arena. Just like Utah State football in their best years of football, in the best rosters that they've had, they just have not been able to win in Boise at Albertson Stadium since 1996. So there's just something about those venues that just is weird. And even though it's a totally different roster, totally different coaching staff, those are just great home venues that make it tough. And we'll see if Aggies can break that streak on Saturday. But a lot more to discuss next hour. Stick around. We want to get into some trademark moves that the conference is doing. Does that give us any indication about what the future may hold, what their plans are going to be, how that affects the Aggies? And then we also need to take a look at the Utah Jazz and the Utah Hockey Club, how they're doing so far. Former Aggies, how they're performing in the NBA and the NFL. And we'll leave you with some Christmas poetry on this Christmas Eve, and hoping you're having a great holiday week. And if you're driving around or getting some last-second Christmas gifts, hope you're driving safe. But more to come here on the Full Court Press on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, 1069thefan.com, and the 1069 The Fan mobile app.
This is Justin Hamilton, and all of us at Cafe Sabor wish you and your family a safe and happy holiday. For the entire month of December, with every $25 gift card purchase, you will receive a $5 card for free. Great food. It's the perfect gift for family, friends, or coworkers. Purchase a $25 gift card and get $5 additional for free. Happy holidays from all of us at Cafe Sabor.
Hi, this is Ashley with LSS Insurance. Medicare can seem complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Let us help. We'll answer all your questions and get you specific information that fits your needs. Medicare is not one size fits all. We'll help you find the right coverage for you. Call 752-9493. You can ignore the TV and the junk mail. We'll get you the exact information you need. We will help you access the benefits that are important to you. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493.
Advanced Heating and AC, the gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah, is teaming up with Carrier Heating and Cooling. Carrier provides you with the best furnace units available. And now is the best time to buy a new unit before the weather turns Cache Valley cold. Financing options are available. Turn to the experts at Advanced Heating and AC and Carrier. Advanced Heating and Air Conditioning at 752-7272. Stop by their showroom west of DI. Online, advancedheating-ac.com.
Great gift ideas are at Jarek's Fine Jewelry for every budget. Pearl jewelry, sterling silver collections, watches, diamond and gemstone, earrings and rings, and the largest selection of engagement rings in northern Utah. With a gift from Jarek's this Christmas, whether you spend $5 or $5,000, the message is the same. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Jarek's Fine Jewelry. Make it special, make it Jarek's.
Les Olson IT is your source for top quality technology. We carry the latest desktop and laptop PCs in stock, configured to your specific needs, and backed by our award-winning support team. And if your business demands high-performance hardware, we offer custom-built computers that can tackle any task. We also offer great computer accessories like monitors, keyboards, speakers, Fujitsu document scanners, and more. Get a quote today.
Les Olson IT.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. We've been thinking about what you're going to get each other for Christmas, and we want to help out a little bit. Jewelry. The bling is cool, but didn't you do that recently? USU season tickets. No. Well, maybe. And if you do, call me. We'll go together. A hot tub. Yeah, they're cozy for 30 minutes, but let me suggest something that'll keep you cozy and supported and help your day go better. A mattress at My Mattress. The best time of the year to buy is right now. Come in today and sleep better tonight. The best Christmas gift possible.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Crystal Vision, they're the four-time gold medal winner in the Best of Northern Utah contest. And they got that recognition because they provide personable, experienced one-on-one care. Stop in with your prescription. Let Crystal Vision fit your glasses to you. So if you're looking for a new look this holiday season or looking into the next year, stop in, bring your prescription with you. And they've got a lot of different styles that will fit your style. They're at 14th North by Sportsman Warehouse, or check them out online, crystalvision.com. That's Crystal with a K, Krystal vision.com. Eric Frandsen, J.D. Walker here on the Full Court Press. Jason Walker under the weather today, so we told him not to come in. He didn't, in the spirit of giving, he didn't want to give us what he's got, and that's just fine by us.
Appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Jason. But still lots of things to discuss and go over here on this Christmas Eve. and certainly a lot of different sports things that we're discussing. Certainly Christmas Day is a big day for the NBA. We'll go through that schedule here in a little bit. But before we get into the NBA, the Utah Jazz, I want to talk about Utah Hockey Club a little bit as well. But earlier, there was discussion about it was discovered that the Pac-12 has registered a number of trademarks. And does this give us any indication about the future direction of the conference? So they registered trademarks under it secured ones they already have, but also looked at additional trademarks. They secured trademark names for Pac-9, Pac-10, Pac-11, Pac-13, and Pac-14. So that's a wide variance there on a number of schools that potentially could be part of the school. But does that give us any idea or inclination about what this conference has in mind about the direction that it wants to go?
I'm just surprised they didn't trademark 6-pack, 12-pack, or case or keg or something like that.
2-pack.
2-pack. I think Tupac's already got that one down. But also saw here they slipped in Pacific Athletic Conference.
Yeah, just PAC.
And then the PAC Conference. That's interesting.
Which seems redundant.
I wonder if this is Octagon's marketing strategy or branding strategy, because it's pretty basic. It's pretty simple, but I don't know. I feel like they're playing Texas Hold'em poker and they're just not leaking. Were there any leaks around Gonzaga before they joined the Pac-12?
No.
So
that just came out of nowhere.
That makes me feel like they're just going to lay down blackjack on the table at one of these points and announce the new schools coming in. Of course, leaks are hard to control from the other side and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, Pac-14, they're thinking that they might get to 14 schools, or it's the news we like to speculate about because it gives us a little insight at what it is. So we could have as little as 9 schools, or maybe they're rebranding each year, new year they add a school or something like that. It's not the Pac-10, the Pac-12 that I grew up with in Oregon, but it's definitely interesting to see. And they're playing it right, and it's driving everybody nuts. I think that there's no leaks, there's no inclinations. And you got clickbait pundits going, the Pac-12 is in big trouble. They don't have it. The Times counting. No, it's not, man. We were sitting here talking about life, and all of a sudden they're like, by the way, we're adding Gonzaga as a basketball school. Bam. I think that's how the announcement's going to come out. And frankly, I'd be disappointed if it didn't come out that way, because it seems like where the Mountain West is going out to the playground and say, all right, guys, who wants to join the club? The Pac-12 is playing a little bit more reserved, having them come into the principal's office and talk about it. So, Pac-14 would be great, but then we'd have to get 6 more teams or 6 or 1 more football team, and then to reach that, we'd need 5 more conference players. That's a lot.
Yeah, to go to Pac-14, is that a full reverse merger with the Mountain West and then some to get that? Maybe they still see that as a possibility down the line. It seems pretty aggressive. Or do they just go their route like the Big 12 and the Big 10 and say, it's just our name. The number really doesn't mean that's the number we have in our conference.
I think we're more likely and inclined out here on the West Coast, the best coast, to actually be accurate with our math, and have it there. But let me ask
you, say what you mean and mean what you say.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Eric. If I'm getting into my private practice Boston legal kind of mindset here, the Pac-14, there's lawsuits out there right now about exit fees and poaching and stuff. Maybe the Pac-14 can kind of be a play with what you said, reverse merger. Because that's 14, you get 14 teams there. You end all the infighting and everything, and then it becomes to me, a dominant West Coast conference that, is there. So that could be one of the things in the background. But I love conspiracy theories like that, to think maybe that's the play going on. But, it's kind of interesting. And then it brings us back to who's it going to be? Is it going to be Memphis? Is it going to be Tulane? I've heard a lot of stuff about after Coach Odom left for Purdue for $6 million a year, I mean, that's amazing for him. UNLV also talking about, can we get out of this whole Mountain West thing and go to the Pac? Like, how is the exit fees case? Do you think that'll have any bearing on if, members are actually staying in the Mountain West? If the ruling comes out and the money's not there and the fees are down, do you think we see, some of those teams disagree and kind of jump ship?
It's possible. I mean, they all signed a memorandum of understanding, not a memorandum of understanding, but they signed a different legal document, the remaining Mountain West schools, to hold them together. And so, but I think it would be hard for anyone else to leave at this point, at least for the next 4 or 5 years.
If the money's not there, though, that they promised Air Force and UNLV.
Yeah, that's fair. They could say, hey, there's a breach of what you said you would deliver, and so I'm not going to stick around because you can't hold your promises. You broke your contract. I'm going to break mine.
And current lawsuits that the Mountain West are facing right now could actually be related to that because of changing bylaws and meetings and things that we need some legal clarity on from, the judge who's going to hopefully read it logically and see what it is, and then we can make a mess out of this spaghetti bowl. But that could play ramifications into the future, too, of saying, hey, maybe the Pac-12 is going just waiting for those court cases, and maybe like the NCAA banking on the JUCO rating and hoping for favorable, maybe the Pac-12 is banking on it being a favorable rating and being able to scoop up some of these schools in the aftermath. And that reverse merger after all this time is what happens.
Yeah, it's very possible. And let's also keeping an eye on the ACC, too. If things fall apart with them, well, it seems to be settling down more. But if there's a chance that Cal and Stanford grow disenchanted with what they have to go through in the ACC, that they may be looking for a home that's closer to their geography, and that would make a little bit more sense. But either case, I think these are moves where they're just trying to anticipate what could happen 4, 5, 6 years down the line. I don't know if this is necessarily an indication of something that's going to be happening immediately. Sometimes when you are not sure of what you want to do, even if you do have an idea, and you know that people are watching these things, you have to register a bunch of different things just to throw a lot of smoke screens and to confuse people as to what you really want to do. Otherwise, they become a little bit too wise, and others can start to use that against you a little bit. So even the Utah Hockey Club, where they were doing that a little bit, where they're registering lots of different names just because if there's a chance they go that direction, they at least need it secured. Doesn't necessarily mean they are, but there's a chance.
And I heard somewhere that there was blowback because Yeti is one of the popular names. And of course, there is a Yeti cooler brand, and they were trying to work out something like that. But I didn't know that Yeti owned it. Like, I'm pretty sure Yetis and Bigfoot were around a long time before the cooler brand and everything. Harry and the Hendersons, the first time I ran into a Yeti back in the day. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to see that. But I like that because we're all internet sleuths these days. We're all trying to be Sherlock Holmes. The Pac-12 or Pac-10 or whatever they're called these days, they've got the money to throw out a few extra trademarks. You and I don't, but yeah, that kind of makes sense. We're going to, hey, check this out, Pac-14. Let's see what these guys say about that. They're sitting somewhere being entertained by all the fodder.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't cost that much to register a trademark. But certainly if you don't have it, you want to be covered.
Yeah. The Sierra Mist, you remember that debacle a little bit ago?
No.
I believe Pepsi Company owned Sierra Mist or whoever did, and they let the trademark expire. And they actually went after a small content creator who had kind of some stuff related to that, and she found out the trademark expired, and she registered Sierra Mist name. She owns it, and that's why you don't see Sierra Mist out there anymore. So you got to be careful with this trademark and this stuff because, if you've got an idea and you've got some premonition of how the Pac-12 is going to go and you think it's going to be Pac-27, trademark that today. You could be funding NIL at Utah State in the future with that move.
Yeah, crazy. So I don't know that these trademark federal trademarks that they were able to secure, if that really means a whole lot, other than they're just hedging their bets and just protecting themselves or not just protecting themselves, but creating opportunities for themselves down the line. So if all of a sudden they decide we're going to go to 14 teams and some squatter goes out there and buys up the name,
that's what they're trying to fight
14,
against. Yeah.
Now you got to fight that in court. So, but that's happening. At least it shows that they're not just sitting around on their hands. They're still doing things. It's not very front facing. They're not telegraphing their pass, so to speak, but they are making things happen. So still anxious to see how they find that 8th football playing school, which needs to be done by 2026. So the clock is definitely ticking there for the Pac-12.
And I'm going to have a little beef, Eric, if they've known this whole time and they're keeping it from us. Because they're gonna have to apologize a little bit for that, and then teach me how they can keep a secret so well.
Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, let's go to talk about the Utah Jazz. This is a team that, they have one of the worst records in the NBA, and I don't think it's any secret what they're trying to do this year. They're going all in on their youth movement. They see a very deep and talented draft class, and they want to take advantage of that. So they're full on the tank. What we'd love to see is player development still take place. Not just throw out a bunch of scrubs and lose by 20 every night, but are we seeing progress? And with the way that the Jazz have been playing the last couple of games, I think we can say that there has been progress, but is that only because it's just this is going to happen from time to time where they're going to stumble into some wins? They had a pretty spicy win, got a little physical, got a little confrontational in Detroit. Then they played well at Brooklyn. So they got 2 wins back-to-back. First time all season, back-to-back wins. And then they were at Cleveland last night, and it was anybody's game. It was a 1-possession game under 2 minutes to go. You look at the final score, the Jazz lose by 11. But that really is the type of game Utah needs to play. A competitive game, closely contested, give them something to play for, but it's okay if they end up losing in the end.
One of the things I like that kind of shows me how the game's going is the win probability throughout it. And they were able to keep that pretty close to Cleveland. Now, Cleveland is having an exceptional year. Yeah. They're just
great start.
I tell you what, it doesn't matter who is stepping up for them. They are just having, of course, Donovan Mitchell out there and Garland, but they're just having an incredible season. And for the Jazz to hold it together that long and then come, bringing it really close to about 4 minutes left in the game, having it close to that 50-50 mark, it was really big to be there at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland with the place rocking. They're having the best season, best start they've had in a long time, and expectations are high for the Cavaliers. So to be able to do that against a 26-4 team when you're on the road in their house, it shows me that there is progress being made with this team and the youth movement that's going on. So, of course, you'd like to see those get closer. It's just going to take the time and the process, because before you'll see where this is an 11-point loss and it'll go to a 5-point loss and maybe a point, and then you start seeing it swing the other side as some of these guys, Kessler, George, get more seasoning here in the NBA. So, yeah, 7-21 it does not look like a fun record, but actually seeing some life over the last couple of games from this Jazz team.
Yeah, part of it, Utah, I don't know if they had success because they send all the rookies down to this G League Winter Showcase in Orlando. And so it forced other guys to kind of step up, more experienced guys who wanted to show that they belong, I guess, at this level. I don't know if that was part of it or not, but these guys are starting to come back.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us.
Couple of
Since
days
1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Teams sent all of their looking at The Athletic, they did a little bit of a write-up over this. Only 8 of the top 35 picks.
Visit alpinehomemedical.com.
The Jazz sent 3 of those 8. But they needed to go there. These guys have needed some refinement. Cody Williams especially. He was the number 10 pick in the draft. He's been spotty. Outside shot has not been there. But in his 2 games in Orlando, 21 points, 5 boards, 5 assists in the first game, 19 points in the second. But there's a big but attached to this. He was only 1 of 11 from 3.
Ouch.
He was active defensively. He had 4 steals. He was active on defense. That's going to be part of his strength, but he's got to improve that outside shot. Isaiah Collier, he's been back and forth in the G League in between the Jazz. But he only had 3 of 12 and 7 turnovers, a disaster in his only game there. So his assist to turnover ratio has been bad. He made some more turnovers in the game the other night in Brooklyn. This was a guy that was supposed to come in and be a great true point guard for the Jazz. And he's been struggling with that. He's had games where he's been pretty good as a point guard, but he doesn't have a shot. So he's got to refine his shooting. Then the other guy is Kyle Filipowski, 26 points, 21 rebounds, and 6 assists. Pretty solid performance from him. Outside shot is a little bit spotty as well, but this is a Jazz team that's still trying to figure out, do they have rotation guys? Are they going to get some improvement from their youth? I mean, Walker Kessler last night looked awesome. I think we need to remove Walker Kessler from this youth movement because he is on a different level from all these other guys.
Double machine, averaging almost 3 blocks a game. Like, I love my big man basketball. And, of course, Pasadena Lakers fan for a long time. And I've seen the connection to Kessler down there. I would love to see him next to Anthony Davis, but I think, the price his cost has gone.
Jazz are going to have to pay him a lot of money this summer.
Way up. Yeah, he's going to get an extension. And if they don't want to pay him, then I could see them trading him. But as much as I'd love to see a big 7-foot in purple and gold, I think this place is here. He's a double-double shot blocking machine. You put pieces around him, and Kessler's right there with Markkanen as being one of the cores of this Jazz rebuild. Now, I got to ask you, Eric, if you could go back into the June of 2024 this year, and you had the 10th pick in the draft, you drafting Cody Williams, or does Jared McCain from Duke or Dalton Knecht, Tennessee, the Lakers and 76ers pick, look a little bit better now?
Yeah, the Knecht, it's been a fine player for the Lakers, but he's fitting a role that they need. The Jazz, he wouldn't be filling that same role for Utah. And I think that's why that's kind of hard to compare. It's not necessarily apples to apples. I think Cody Williams shows potential with his defensive prowess in the perimeter as a wing, but he's got to get better at shooting. And that's why the G League serves a purpose. It allows these guys to refine their craft. And the Jazz aren't in a hurry to have him play big extended minutes and help the team to victories right now. But all of these guys, even look at the second year guys, Keontae George, Bryce Sensabaugh. Though Sensabaugh has been making some improvements. All of them, the only guy that looked like he was making progress, like he'd be a solid rotation guy, was Taylor Hendricks. Well, he's out for the year. He broke his leg. So the rest of the guys, they still got a lot of work to do.
It's kind of interesting when you're talking about that they're drafting for potential, like in the future. When do you think the mindset of the Jazz front office staff wants that number 10 pick for Cody Williams to pay off? I mean, you're not drafting for this season with him. Is it next season? Is it the season after that? It just strikes me as the draft of potential. And, by the time these guys develop, a large amount of them are being moved or signing elsewhere. So it's an interesting strategy to see. I'm a Danny Ainge guy. I think, I love him a lot more now that he's in Utah and he's not wearing that green color. But he did something amazing. If you look at, Jason Tate and who they've got right now running through, that is a Danny Ainge blueprint that he put in there back in the day. And he made some pretty big waves trading out the big three from Boston to do it, just like Rudy and Donovan here. He's got a little bit more credit with me to keep going, but I got to see some of these develop. George could be a great player, but the turnovers are really concerning. And it just seems like, to me, when I look at the Jazz team, the draft is all about potential, and potential doesn't win very many games over the next couple of years. And, yeah, you could get Cooper or Ace or one of the big guys that are coming out, but if you don't have a team to develop around a star like that, or especially a star with a young mindset that they have today, we're not going to be able to keep them in Salt Lake City that long. They're going to wait until their rookie contract's done, and then they're going to fly, and we're going to end up trading them to a contender for picks that are like 27, 28, 29. And that's kind of the frustrating thing I see right now. But still, in Danny Ainge, we trust. I want to see some of these develop. Walker Kessler's been great. I think if he had some more talent around him and Marketing, I think they'd have more opportunities that it would open up. But now teams can just kind of super focus on those guys and say, hey, make the other guys beat us.
Hey, before we close up shop tonight, we wanted to kind of end things with the Christmas spirit in mind. And JD, you've got a holiday poem for the Utah State Aggies.
Yes, I rewrote the first verse of one of our favorite things, and Eric, I'm really sorry. And I apologize that I'm doing this on Christmas Eve, and I apologize to all our listeners, but I can't just read this. I'm going to have to sing it. and I not only do I have a face for radio, but I have a singing voice. So, dashing through the campus in a one-horse open sleigh, over the fields we go, cheering Aggies all the way. Bells on Big Blues ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to sing and cheer the Scotsman song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, Aggie yells, Aggies all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride down Old Main in a sleigh. So I got to work on some of the stuff, but there you go.
Hey, I like that. I like that.
That's what I was up at 4:30 this morning doing. That's how Christmas spirit I am today.
I like it. I'll try to get through one I put together. Well, I had some help from some AI bots, but here we go. Down in Aggieville, folks shouted, hooray, for their basketball team was the talk of the day. With the record so shiny, 11-1, the season had started with buckets of fun. Jared Calhoun, the coach with the plan, had molded a team of remarkable men. There was Mason, who'd shoot with a flick and a snap, and Ian, who soared with a dunk and a clap. Carson would rumble, a big bouncy force, while Dexter kept steady, the team's guiding course. And Drake, with his dribbles, his passes so keen, made the Aggies a sight like you've never quite seen. Oh, bring on the rivals, the fans gave a cheer. The Mountain West battle is finally here. With cowbells a clanging and voices so loud, they lifted the spectrum, a thunderous crowd. The Aggies had talent, the Aggies had heart, and like Christmas itself, they were ready to start. So here's to their season, to wins and to cheer. Merry Christmas to Aggie fans, far and near.
That wins. That was excellent.
There you go. That's Chat GPT for you.
I think that's a new Christmas Eve tradition now.
Seriously, though, thank you so much for being a part of our Full Court Press team and family. Appreciate all the questions and interactions that we get to do with you guys all the time throughout the year. A lot more to come, certainly. And through the week, we'll get to more time into prepping for San Diego State later on in the week. Big matchup for the Aggies as they really get into conference play, one of the toughest places on the schedule for sure. But that's going to do it for us tonight. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. We'll see you back here again later on in the week.
It's never too cold or wet to get rid of that old vehicle. Now is the time to earn extra cash for the holidays by calling DD Auto and Salvage. Let them pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles, paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about
when the unexpected strikes,
and
call the
I
trusted team
needed
at
a
Blue Sky.
bath.
Remember, Blue Sky is
My
that
neighbor
same great ARS
suggested
team
that
you
she
know
would
and
make a
trust.
few phone
This is Tom with Blue
calls,
Sky
and that
Restoration.
very
When disaster
afternoon,
strikes, whether
Mark
it's a flood,
Stokes
fire,
was
mold
sitting in
damage, or
my
an unforeseen
front room, and
accident, Blue
he
Sky
said,
will clean up,
"What
repair,
do you
and restore
need?"
your home
Primrose
or
Home Care and
business like it was
Hospice.
before.
We're your
no
home
disaster
team.
is too big or too small. For all your restoration needs, you can trust our Blue Sky team.
Your locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts supplies parts to over a dozen local Napa Auto Care centers. You can trust and count on their ASE certified mechanics to do it right. Take it to one of these Napa Auto Care centers: Autobahn Performance, Hiram Tire, General Repair, HK Auto in Dayton. And if you're looking for a guarantee, you've got it. Every repair includes free peace of mind warranty that covers parts and labor for at least 24 months or 24,000 miles.
Self-monitor your blood pressure in 4 easy-to-remember steps. Self-monitoring is power. Visit managerbp.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the American Heart Association, and the American Medical Association, in partnership with the Office of Minority Health and Health Resources and Services Administration.
Learn how to keep your money NCUA safe at ncua.gov.
Why did I wait so long to see a retina specialist?
Retinal disease can steal your eyesight, but it doesn't have to. Patients who seek care from a retina specialist have the best chance of preventing vision loss due to age-related macular degeneration or diabetic retinopathy. AMD symptoms to look out for are distortion or warping of straight lines, as well as blurred or loss of central vision. Patients with diabetic retinopathy should seek treatment if they notice the appearance of spots or floaters or blurred and distorted vision. Visit seeforalifetime.org.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. It is critical we keep AM radio in all cars and all trucks. Text AM to 52886 today.
Standard message and data rates apply.
Do you know a veteran in need? After leaving the military, many veterans struggle to find their way home. Because to a veteran, home isn't just a place, it's an idea, a feeling. Nation's Finest understands the challenges veterans face. Through the VA's Supportive Services for Veteran Families program, we help veterans and their families struggling with rent, employment, and other housing-related costs. Today, Nation's Finest operates more than 30 locations in California, Arizona, and Nevada. For more than 50 years, we've helped thousands of veterans in these communities build happy, healthy, and purposeful lives. And our team is committed to supporting those who've served and their families for another 50. To get help, visit nationsfinest.org or call 1-833-468-9676. That's 1-833-468-9676.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 in the morning, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The home for Skyview Sports. Sports Talk Radio, KLGN Logan, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan.